Full-time whistle at the Azteca. Mexico 2-0 Ecuador. Sebastian Becachete walks to the press conference, sits down, and says, "Goodbye." Not fired, not pushed out the door. Gone, because he promised he would leave if Ecuador did not go through. And Ecuador did not go through. But this is not a story about one bad game in one bad venue. The story of Becasese and Ecuador at this World Cup is one of the most dramatic, chaotic, and quietly remarkable coaching journeys this entire tournament has produced. A hotel under siege the night before a knockout match. A goal celebration that required climbing a stadium barrier to reach his wife in the crowd. A squad that arrived here carrying a 19-game unbeaten run. To understand what he walked away from, you have to go right back to the beginning, to the man he replaced and the mess he was handed. Start with Felix Sanchez. Under him, Ecuador reached back-to-back Copa America quarterfinals. He had built something real. Then, on July 4th, 2024, Ecuador lost to Argentina on penalties in the Copa America quarterfinal. Hours later, before the dressing room had even cleared, the Ecuadorian Football Federation announced his departure. South American football expert Tim Vickery did not mince his words when speaking to the BBC. They treat their coaches with great harshness. Into that chaos walked Sebastian Becasese. Argentine, born in Rosario, Santa Fe. A man who never played professional football. He dedicated himself entirely to coaching and tactics. He rose as a close collaborator of Jorge Sampaoli during Chile's golden era, working through back-to-back Copa America wins in 2015 and 2016. Club roles at Defensa y Justicia, Racing Club, Universidad de Chile, and Elche in Spain. Appointed Ecuador head coach August 1st, 2024. First match, a 1-0 defeat to Brazil in Curitiba. Then something happened. Ecuador went unbeaten in their next 11 qualifying matches. The final CONMEBOL qualifying record, 8 wins, 8 draws, 2 losses. 5 goals conceded across 18 matches, 13 clean sheets, the best defensive record in South America that entire cycle. Second in CONMEBOL qualifying, behind only world champions Argentina, above Brazil, Colombia, and Uruguay. Qualified with 2 matches to spare, arrived at the World Cup on a 19-game unbeaten run. One more detail, Ecuador started that qualifying campaign already docked 3 points by FIFA, punished for the Byron Castillo eligibility scandal from 2022. They overcame that deficit entirely. This was the squad Becasese built. Willian Pacho, the first Ecuadorian to win the Champions League. Moises Caicedo at Chelsea. 18-year-old Kendry Paez, already playing at River Plate. Enner Valencia, captain and all-time top scorer, arriving at his final World Cup with 6 goals already to his name. The best Ecuadorian team ever assembled. The World Cup right on their doorstep. This was supposed to be the moment it all finally came together. Group E, Germany, Ecuador, Ivory Coast, and Curacao, making their World Cup debut. On paper, Ecuador's clearest route to the knockout stage in their entire history. A debutante nation, a mid-table African side, and a German team they had already beaten in qualifying. This was the group Ecuador needed. They did not play like it. Match 1 against Ivory Coast. Ecuador hit the crossbar twice in the first half. John Yeboah and Alan Minda both striking the woodwork. Then substitute Amad Diallo scores late. 1-0. A gut punch opener against a team Ecuador should have beaten. Match 2. Curacao, Kansas City. 28 shots to Curaçao's 10. Their goalkeeper Eloy Room makes 15 saves. 15. Ecuador cannot find a way through against the smallest, least experienced team in the group. Final score, 0-0. Ecuador are now staring at elimination before they have even faced Germany. After that, Curaçao draw, Becasese stands in front of the cameras and reveals that his wife and daughter had been verbally confronted by an angry Ecuador supporter outside Arrowhead Stadium after the game. His response was measured. The first thing he asked was whether anything serious had happened. They told him no. He interpreted it as a fan feeling hurt and a daughter defending her father. Then he says it plainly. If things do not work against Germany, He will have to leave a place he loves very much. He understands how this works. Then, Germany. Already through. 2 minutes in, Leroy Sané scores. Ecuador protest a foul in the build-up. Nobody listens. Then Nilson Angulo equalizes. And, in the 77th minute, Gonzalo Plata beats Manuel Neuer. 2-1. Ecuador are through. And Bekasese does not celebrate on the touchline. He runs from the bench, scales the stadium barrier, and kisses his wife of 21 years in the stands. Tim Vickery on the BBC, he cannot think of anything in Ecuador's World Cup history that compares. The country's president declares a public holiday. Round of 32, Ecuador versus Mexico, Estadio Azteca, Mexico City. A co-host nation playing at home in front of one of the most hostile environments in world football. Ecuador could not have drawn a harder fixture, and it started going wrong well before a ball was kicked. The travel. Ecuador make the journey from their Columbus, Ohio training base to Mexico City. At his pre-match press conference, Bekasese reveals that the team arrived at their hotel 3 hours and 20 minutes later than planned. Unexplained delays with the flight. More delays with the team bus. Total travel day, approximately 9 hours. On top of that, they are routed through Felipe Angeles International Airport, 65 kilometers from their hotel in the city. Then, the night before the match, Mexican supporters gather outside Ecuador's hotel, the Westin Santa Fe in Mexico City. Car horns, motorbikes revving through the street, musical instruments, offensive chants, fireworks directed at or near the building. Ecuador's players peer through their curtains as the disturbance carries on into the early hours of the morning. Riot police descend around midnight. Ecuador attempt to relocate to a different hotel. The logistics do not allow it. They stay where they are. The Ecuadorian Football Federation file a formal complaint with FIFA. Their statement: the conduct was far removed from the principles of fair play, equity, and unity that a FIFA World Cup should represent. And Bekasese's public response to all of it: the 9-hour travel day, the hotel under siege, the riot police at midnight, the sleepless night before the biggest game of his career. We go, we compete, and we play. No complaints, no excuses. I am grateful. We might have tired features, but how could I be upset about being at a World Cup? This was the night before the most important match in Ecuador's World Cup. And what came next inside the Azteca, for a team running on no sleep, was almost inevitable. June 30th, 2026, Estadio Azteca. Everything Bekasese had built over 2.5 years comes down to 90 minutes inside one of football's most intimidating stadiums, on no sleep, against a co-host nation playing in front of their own crowd. It does not last long. Mexico go 2-0 up before halftime. Ecuador, a team that had conceded more than one goal just once in their previous 26 matches, are already dead at the break. The defensive record that had been the foundation of everything Bekasese built, the 13 clean sheets, the 5 goals conceded in qualifying, irrelevant inside 45 minutes at the Azteca. And then it gets worse. Arsenal defender Piero Hincapié receives a red card for covering his mouth while speaking to an opponent. One of the most controversial dismissals of the entire tournament. 10 men, 2 goals down. In Mexico City, in the Azteca. Ecuador manage 1 shot on target in the entire match. No goals, no way back. Mexico go through, Ecuador go home. At the press conference, Bekasese is composed in a way that is almost hard to watch. Today, it is time to say goodbye to a beautiful, wonderful family with deep gratitude and a sense of inner peace. We have given it our all. The contract ended with the World Cup. He would have liked to continue, but he promised results, and the results were not there. And he understands how this works, and it hurts. His final record: 9 wins, 3 losses across 24 matches. His words about the players: the legacy is entirely theirs. The youngest Ecuador team ever assembled. Only gratitude. He is not alone in walking away. Ronald Koeman resigned from the Netherlands. Marcelo Bielsa resigned from Uruguay. Steve Clark stepped down from Scotland. Sabri Lamouchi was sacked mid-tournament after a single game. The 2026 World Cup keeps taking coaches. Bekashishi is just the latest and arguably the most quietly devastating of them all. So step back and look at the full picture. A man appointed into chaos after his predecessor was sacked in a dressing room. 3 points already deducted before a single qualifier was played. 11 unbeaten matches. Second in CONMEBOL, behind only the world champions. A 19-game unbeaten run into the tournament. A goal celebration that required climbing a stadium barrier to reach his wife. Then, a 9-hour travel day. A hotel under siege. Riot police at midnight. A red card for covering a mouth. And a goodbye delivered at a press conference with the composure of someone who has absolutely nothing left to prove. Was this a failure? Or was this a success that simply ran out of road at the worst possible moment? Drop your verdict below, subscribe, and stay close because this World Cup is not done producing stories like this one.